Oh, hello. There we go. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Anzer, and like it or not, I'm your vice chair, chair elect. Sorry, I did get an upgrade there. I want to welcome you to Smedra's Metro Market Pulse for October 18th. You guys still can't hear me? So, can we start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So a lot of people have been asking me what I am, other than crazy, and I am I'm a seller that thinks they're going to get top dollar from that iBuyer. I'm dreaming. Ha ha ha. Okay, wanna okay. Your attention, please. Please switch off your phones to vibrate or turn them off completely. You will be asked to contribute $5 if it rings. Your $5 will be added to this Measure Charities and Community Involvement Fund to benefit housing related endeavors for the benefit of individuals and families in our community. This morning, we first want to start off with a check presentation to Brothers Redevelopment, introducing our new chair, Heather Hankins. What's up? What?
Good morning, everybody. See, Brian just doesn't hold it close enough to his mouth, I guess. Yeah, Brian. So this morning we are pleased to present. First of all, I'd like to introduce the Charities Committee, Charities and Community Involvement Committee, led by Holly Duckworth as the chair of that committee. Give them a round of applause. And this morning we are proud to present a check to Brothers Redevelopment. And for those of you that don't know, Brothers Redevelopment is a Denver based nonprofit organization that provides housing and a variety of housing related services for the region's low income, elderly, and disabled residents. We were thrilled to be able to do a paint-a-thon event for them on September 25th. I know there were some other people in this room. Raise your hand if you were able to help out that day. Anyone? Michael? Thank you so much. It was really fun. $1,500 as one of our raffle fund beneficiaries of 2019. That's who Brothers Redevelopment was. So right now I'd like to introduce Hannah Beltrone with Brothers Redevelopment to accept the check and just say a few words.
Thank you all so much. So my name is Hannah Beltron. I'm the grant writer with Brothers Redevelopment. And we were so glad to have the South Metro Denver Realtors team paint a project this year. It was one of 117 paint-a-thon projects that we did just this summer. So we're making a really big impact on the lives of low-income seniors throughout the Denver Metro and actually throughout the Front Range. We're now expanding down to Colorado Springs. So we're so grateful for this money and this funding and for your sweat equity and putting in the time. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Hannah. We're going to do a picture, and we're going to do a picture this way first, but then we want to have all of you involved in the photo as well, because the members of this organization, without you and contributing money to the raffle fund, we couldn't have done this. So we're going to go in the back in just a minute and take a photo back there.
I turned it off. It only takes a second, but it cancels the YouTube stream when you shut it down. And he told us not to shut it down. Nobody told me that. Why did you do it? I'm sorry. I didn't know.
you want me to thank the corporate sponsors? Okay, that's fine. Remember, you got to walk me through it. So sorry about that. Oh, hey, no problem. We got to figure out a way to shut down the main camera and then have something on the sides. We'll figure it out eventually. Because they were just trying to take a picture. My bad. Oh, they were trying to take a picture without that. Without that, so we need to be able to shut that off without shutting the whole system down. Okay, they should be able to put a button on. We'll work through it. Whoa. Oh, no problem. Sorry, I didn't tell anybody. It's not fair. Okay. Want to remind everybody about raffle ticket sales. Half of the cash collected supports Smedra charities. Hey guys, we're back. Half of the money collected from the raffle ticket sales supports Smedra charities through the Charities and Community Involvement Committee, and half of the cash collected goes to the winner of the raffle. So make sure you buy your raffle tickets. There are individuals that are cruising around. Happy to sell them. Getting prepared. Realtors who will be presenting their new listings for pre-RE Colorado listings need to complete the Smedra presentation form. Make sure you grab one of those. And I want to introduce our donut sponsor from Arizona Tile. We have Aaron Dossler. Did I kill that? Okay. I've been practicing on that.
Thank you, guys.
So in order to be on the live stream, you gotta
Oh,
be over just
like right here? Like here? Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Erin. I work for Arizona Tile. We are a tile company. We sell countertops and tile. We have a wholesale program for those of you that don't know where we offer our wholesale pricing to you and your clients. So if you have a listing that is coming up that needs some help, um, your clients can purchase the material at the wholesale price and then just pay the labor to the fabricator or the installer. There's no limit on how much material you need to buy in order to use the program. You could buy one piece of tile or you could buy 800 slabs if it's a really large project. In front of you is this moving makeover flyer. This has all of my contact information on my business card. Our showroom is off of I-70 in Havana. We are open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 and Saturdays from 9 until 3. If you are sending people in, make sure that they use Moving Makeover. It's kind of like a speakeasy password because if they are to come into our showroom, we would not release pricing to them unless they say they're with the Moving Makeover program. Again, all my contact information is on here, including my cell phone number, which is the easiest way to get a hold of me. So just let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, and next I want to welcome up Angela with Roof Brokers, who is our breakfast sponsor.
Good morning, Smedra members. I just first want to say congratulations on this beautiful new space. I took the tour last week and got all the details. Marcel does a wonderful job explaining just how incredible this space is. So congratulations. Roof Brokers has been around since 1992. During that time, we've inspected over 250,000 roofs. So the whole concept of Roof Brokers was developed specifically for the real estate industry. And all you have to do, anything roof related, just give us a call. Let us know what you need: a roof certification, a roof repair, replacement, storm check, maintenance check. Our inspector will come out and take a look. And if the roof is certifiable as is, and that's what you want, and elect to purchase after the free inspection, they start as low as $35 and cover leaks during the certification period for composition roofs. But if you do need quotes, we have relationships with several local contractors, most of which we've had for over 20 years. We have negotiated a volume discount for the real estate industry, especially when it's not hail related. We can really be very, very competitive. So we will send you bids from 3 local companies, and if you elect to use one of them for the work, we will at no charge come out and re-inspect after it's done. So just let us know. And a lot of the realtors are starting to have us come out at the beginning before they actually list the property because the roof is a big ticket item and sometimes there could be hail damage that hasn't been taken care of. And this year especially, there's been a lot of manufacturer defect. So you can definitely um, have us help you because it's a lengthy process. So with that, I just wanted to give you one tip. If you do have to replace the roof, please keep your warranty. Read the warranty and also register the warranty. The benefit is that if you go to sell that house, you can transfer the warranty if you have registered it. And also if a couple of years down the road you start to see that the roof is aging too rapidly, you can get that manufacturer defect claim and get a new roof at no charge. Thanks for letting me come. Take care.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, next we want to thank our affiliate education partners, First Option Mortgage, Next Door Photos, Denver South, Heritage Title, Blue Ribbon Home Warranty, and National Home Guarantee. Okay, so today we're going to do shout outs. Shout outs, we need you to line up for today's shout outs, announce your business name, announce members whom you've done business with, and a bucket deal fundraising supports the Smedra Member Relief Fund. So do we have any shout outs? You can come up or you can shout it out.
I don't really need this. Oh, oh, that's really creepy, actually. I'm Amy Rasco, Amy the Carpeting and Flooring Girl, and I have a thank you for Michael Marcus. And I also have a huge thank you to the amazing, fabulous, wonderful, where is she, Pat Broxton. I might be really good at helping my own clients figure out what they need for flooring and help in their house, but I'm horrible at my house. So Pat came over and helped me reimagine and redesign everything in my house, and now it's amazing, beautiful, and I love her to death. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Pat Broxton.
Good morning. I'm Bobby Taylor with Bobby Taylor Interiors, full service interior designer specializing in window coverings. A great big shout out for you, Brian. He gave me the coolest little couple. This young gal was sharper than sharp. She hired 5 painters for bids, had it started being painted the very next day, helped her pick out her carpet, and that's being installed, I think, now. In less than 2 weeks, it was done. This gal was sharp as can be. Thank you, Brian. And a shout out to Sandy Hewins of Metro Brokers. And speaking of Erin, this little tile gal, I had the pleasure of working with her for a client. She was outstanding. She just held my hand and picked out everything so quickly. In fact, she even delivered some sample tiles to my client on her own time. Thank you, Erin. Try her. She's fabulous. Thank you. Your turn.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Susan with Acacia Designs, Design and Staging, and I have thank yous for Katya and Phoebe with Remax Edge, Ronzo Smith, Remax Masters, Lisa Mooney, Remax Masters, and Jim Wanzak, Remax Masters. Thank you very much. Thanks.
My shout outs to Carol Grape. I want to thank you so much. I have a listing out in the village at 6163 Massapequa Loop that everybody said the paint inside is awful. Finally got the seller to repaint it, and Carol jumped right out and got it. Photos taken, so please get your people out there, see that now. Thank you.
I'm Katia Del Regoso with Remax Edge, and I have a shout out for Susan. We have a house in the market. It didn't went under contract. We took it out, and Susan came to her magic, and in a week we were under contract. So thank you so much.
Lynn Miller from Newcastle. I have thanks to Mopstars, Guy Peters, and also to Jeff Corn for Virgins for doing photographs. Thank you.
Good morning. It's been a while. This is Marie with Pro Flooring. I have several. I have a $25 check to put in there. So Carol Grape, thank you. Daryl Brister, John McCormiss with Windermere Real Estate, Kim Borges with Front Range Real Estate, Matthew Rosenfield, Compass, Colorado, Melody Switzer at Home Path, Randy Tickle, Rick with Keller Williams, Sarah Dodd Smidra, Darlene Lacasco, and Randy Tickle, Mr. Jay Berger, and Justin Savoy. Thank you so much.
Got a thanks for Angela with Roof Brokers. Thanks for the referral. Her customer called me a year ago, and I just did the job last week. So thank you. Aaron with Arizona Tile. Steve Kanishki. Thank you very much. And several of you, I don't know your name, but I get a lot of referrals out of this group. And you know, painters, a big, we're slammed all the time. But when I get a chance to come, I want to say thanks to everybody. I try to do the best for your customers. Interior, exterior painting, and drywall and texture repairs. So my number is on the website, and I must be good, so I'm busy.
Ilan Levy, Exodus Moving and Storage. So I have Jim Wanson, Marianne Hutchinson, Marcel Savoy, which just finally finished the job. We still have storage. Roger Evan, Joe Pellegrino, Rebecca Fries, and thank you. And thank you for the staff of Samandra for making Exodus feel home over here. Oh, and I have the basket. I have the winning ticket for the basket, and the money go to our foundation. So please buy tickets and maybe a chance to win.
Sounds like he has a cold. Steve Konecny, Remax Masters, several things, vacant interiors, land title, roof brokers. I always call them on every listing to have that roof looked at before I list it. Of course, my wife with Keisha Designs always makes everything looks great. Media Max for the photography, and several people I've closed with, and I don't have their names, or Spindler members, brokers. So thank you very much.
Lou Johnson with Johnson Storage and Moving. I'd like to do a shout out to Michelle White with oh God, cut my throat. Keller Williams, and we were able to help her with some real challenging load and delivery times. So I really appreciate being able to help Michelle out.
Thank you so much. And this is just a reminder, there's a lot of business that's happening in this room. So we'd love when we have a packed house. And just make sure that you're getting out there and meeting new people that are here for the first time, whether it's affiliate or realtor. We're building great relationships here at Smedra, and people are benefiting from that. So we really want to foster that sense of community here. So thanks so much for supporting both your realtor and affiliate members here at Smedra. I think that it's really important. Once again, those shout out proceeds, the cash collected supports the Smedra Member Relief Fund. Meeting policies, I'll let you guys read that. Hasn't changed. And next we have a really special guest, John Goodman, attorney with Frascona, Joyner, Goodman, and Greenstein, who's going to talk about real estate scary stories. And I know that that's really why most of you guys are here. So John, thanks.
Thank you, Brian. I know you're expecting to hear a little bit about Airbnb. What? Oh, move back. Okay. Okay. I know you're expecting to hear a little bit about Airbnb scary stories. So the experiences that I don't have, the experiences that I have don't lend themselves to stories. So I promise you, after about 5 minutes talking about Airbnbs, perhaps conveying some useful information, I'll tell you a scary story apropos of the last couple of years. But here's about Airbnbs. So one way that realtors, real estate brokers get involved in these cases as investors themselves, buying properties themselves. We, my law firm, has had a case that has been reported on in the media where a real estate broker bought a property. The city of Denver is trying to shut down her use of that property. It's an ongoing case. I cannot comment on that ongoing case for reasons at least that Lynn understands. So thank you. I can tell you, however, that the publicity associated with that case has caused us to get calls from at least 4 other people who are interested in engaging us in these cases. I can also tell you that in spite of the fact that we were quoting extraordinarily reasonably low retainers for taking on those cases, that nobody was interested in retaining us to defend them in those cases. And I take that as a sign that they perceive that the city of Denver is both being accurate in concluding that these owners are not residences of Denver and they're not interested in taking on the city of Denver about it. I cannot tell you that I've seen a single case where the city of Denver has been crazy in pursuing the case. They're on it, they're enforcing it. They want to make examples out of people to discourage other bad actors, etc. Now, that's a certain level of scariness where the real estate brokers are the owners of the property. You know that there's a higher level of scariness where owners of property have signed affidavits representing that they are residents, that they're living in the property themselves. You've read in the Denver Post that some of those people are being criminally prosecuted. For yourself, as an owner of a unit, if you're contemplating doing an Airbnb kind of notion, whatever you do, if there's any doubt at all whether you live in the property yourself, do not sign the affidavit. The affidavit is what exposes you to criminal liability. As a more practical risk for people in the room is the risk that you're working with buyers who buy a property with the intent of renting it out, putting in the market, an Airbnb short-term rental kind of situation. I can tell you that we've had 4 or 5 of those cases come in. I can tell you that I have not seen a case yet where the real estate broker did a poor job. Another way of saying that is in all the cases I've seen, while the buyers have been disappointed, the real estate brokers have a pretty good paper trail. Here's the covenants. You should read them yourselves. Perhaps you should talk to a lawyer. Here's the covenants. Perhaps you should talk to the city and evaluate whether you need a license, etc. So I don't have any cases where real estate brokers are defendants in malpractice cases from buyers. That's all a buildup to the practice pointer for you. If you're representing a buyer who's intending to buy a unit, any place, a house, a condominium, a townhome, and they mention to you that they are planning on putting it in the market, the Airbnb-like market, the Airbnb VRBO kind of market, you want to have an email to them that says it's a tricky thing. Not all municipalities like them. A lot of neighbors don't like them. There will be eyes on you that might try and squash your revenue stream. So you should check it out. And at least 2 things you need to check out are the rules within the city. The other thing you need to check out is your homeowners association covenants. If you need lawyers or land planners to help you with that, I'm happy to recommend them. Send that email to them. Make sure that as part of the title commitment they get, that there's, one of those links to the covenants. Encourage them to look at the covenants. And then put it in the hopper, in the same hopper that you would put in if there was a question about the structural integrity of a property. You would not do the deep dive and evaluate the structural integrity of the property yourself. You'd hire an expert. You'd hire an expert to evaluate the roof. Let somebody else help the buyer decide whether the property can be legally used for an Airbnb kind of use. Any questions about that? All right. Seeing none. Let me try and tell you a scary story here. So, this scary story takes place in a low inventory market. It happens to take place in one of the beautiful ski resorts that we are blessed to have in this state. And one of the characters in this story is somebody who I will call Macho Buyer. Macho Buyer is from another state, Texas. Macho Buyer has skied in this beautiful resort for several years. He perceives that on this vacation, it's an opportune time perhaps to buy something. He perceives that there are signals that the market may be going up. He skis hard for 3 days in a row. He beats the heck out of his legs. He needs a break. He has a relationship with a broker. He calls up his broker. He says, I'd like to look at properties that have these criteria, certain criteria. The criteria are specific. There's only 3 or 4 properties in the valley that fit, this criteria. The broker, who's a very experienced broker, puts together the tour of the 3 or 4 properties and takes him out one morning and shows Macho Buyer 4 properties. Macho Buyer is macho. He's decisive, and he decisively focuses on one unit and wants to make an offer on this one unit. Broker, who's experienced, knows that that unit is priced well to move, anticipates that there will be other offers on the property, and does what a good broker does, calls up the listing broker. It's a small community. The broker working with the buyer's agent knows the listing broker and says, I can imagine you might be getting other offers on this property. You know me. You know I do this for a living. I'm a full-time broker. I would not invest my time with my buyer unless I knew my buyer was for real. We are going to be getting you a cash offer in a couple hours. If you have offers already on the table, I encourage you to wait to see my client's offers so that you are not disappointed. Listing broker replies. Now, in the real world, there are not tape recorders recording everything we say, and there were slightly different versions of how this listing broker replied, but it was pretty much agreed upon that the listing broker replied something like this. Well, thank you for that interest. By all means, submit your offer. The more the merrier. However, you are right. We do have an offer on the table, and my client is probably going to accept that. So if you submit an offer, your client's offer will be a backup offer. Buyer's agent says, I get it. Again, I encourage you to be patient and wait to see our offer before accepting this other offer. My buyer is solid, aggressive, and motivated. The conversation ends politely. Buyer's agent goes back to buyer, relays to the buyer what I just told you about the conversation with the listing broker, and asks buyer, do you still want to write an offer? Now, I would not be telling you this story unless Macho Buyer replied, yes, I want to write an offer. Then buyer's agent, again, who's sophisticated, who's experienced, says to Macho Buyer, would you like me to write the offer with a backup contingency in it? Macho Buyer says, what, pray tell, is a backup contingency? And the buyer's agent explains to Macho Buyer, well, it's a contingency that says the seller's obligation to sell to you is contingent upon another contract dying, another contract terminating. And Macho Buyer says, well, that sounds like it's a contingency that lets the seller off the hook from selling to me. It sounds like a contingency that protects the seller, not a contingency that protects me. Am I right? And Macho Buyer says, yeah. Buyer's agent says, right? Yeah, that's right. You got it. And Macho Buyer says, look, we don't know whether there really is another buyer out there. Now, I hope this is not like telling you the Easter Bunny exists, but But what Macho Buyer said is this would not be the first time in the history of residential real estate where a listing broker was sort of exaggerating and puffing the existence of other buyers out there. Now, if you were really engaged, I saw a bunch of you kind of go like this, but if you're really engaged, you go, no. So let's practice that. Do one of these. No. So buyer's agent, buyer, macho buyer decides to submit an offer without a backup contingency in it. The offer is put together. It's submitted to the listing broker that afternoon. There's a counter that comes back. The counter increases the price. The counter increases the amount of the earnest money. The counter scooches up, tightens up some of the time deadlines. But guess what's missing in the counter proposal? There's no backup contingency in the counter proposal. Macho buyer is able to look at the counter proposal, able to quickly decide that the macho buyer can accept all the terms of the counter proposal. Buyer's agent asks macho buyer, would you like me to call up the listing broker and ask the listing broker why there is no backup contingency in the counter proposal? And how does macho buyer reply? Heck no. Heck no. And the reasoning is either there never was another buyer, that was just a fib, or they made a mistake. And if they made a mistake, that's their problem, not my problem. That's how macho buyer responds. And there's no dispute about any of that kind of communication. So macho buyer accepts the offer. And then this contract that macho buyer has relatively fast time frames on it, arranges to have an inspection done promptly. There's no financing contingency in this contract. Macho buyer is a cash buyer. Gets past the objection, inspection objection issues, deadlines. There's no inspection issues about the property. And about 5 days after the deal goes under contract, the buyer's agent is able to call up the listing broker and say, everything's good. My buyer doesn't have any inspection issues here. And so we just want you to know that, listing broker. The listing broker replies. Now you got to get your oohs ready. Listing broker replies, well, that's fantastic. We very much appreciate your buyer's enthusiasm and drive and aggressiveness in pursuing the property. That has helped keep our other buyer less picky on their inspection items. But the other buyer also, we've resolved inspection issues with this other buyer. It looks like they're going to be closing. So we will be sending you back an earnest money release for your client to sign off on so that your client can get their earnest money back. Oh, for listing broker. So buyer's agent, now I can say, we'll call this buyer's agent for buyer number 2. I couldn't call him buyer number 2 in the beginning because it would have ruined the suspense. But macho buyer is buyer number 2. Macho buyer is buyer number 2. Buyer's agent number 2 is my client, and of course, people who retain me are gracious, high quality, high class kind of people. Okay, so he's gracious, and he says to the listing broker, are you sitting down? You're not driving, and I got some bad news to break to you, but this contract that my buyer has does not have a backup contingency in it. So bad news is communicated to the seller. The seller is under contract to sell one property to 2 different people, something you seek to avoid in your career. Seller hires an attorney. Seller announces that because buyer number 1 was under contract first before buyer number 2, that seller is going to honor the contract with buyer number 1, and therefore default on the contract with buyer number 2. So, who initiates the lawsuit? Buyer number 2 initiates the lawsuit. Now, let's explore, who does buyer number 2 sue? People are so cynical when they think about lawyers. That the knee-jerk reaction is that the lawyers just sue everybody. Good lawyers do not just sue everybody. I'll tell you why. Once you sue people, somehow it just tends to depress their enthusiasm for cooperating with you. No. So good lawyers strategically sue who they need to sue. Of course, leaving open the possibility that they might bring other people into the lawsuit. So, but let's explore each of the 3 players. The potential defendants in that lawsuit are the listing broker, buyer number 2's own broker, and the seller. Now, let's talk about the listing broker first. Has the listing broker made a mistake in this case? Yes, they have. Has that mistake hurt buyer number 2? How? Yeah, but had the listing broker responded with a counter proposal with a backup contingency in it, buyer number 2 wouldn't have gotten what they want. The omission of a backup contingency creates an opportunity for buyer number 2. Buyer number 2 made an informed decision to seize upon the mistake that the listing broker made. The listing broker made a mistake. That's a mistake that's hurting the listing broker's seller, but it does not hurt buyer number 2. It created an opportunity for buyer number 2. Maybe buyer number 2 spent, $500 on an inspection that the buyer number 2 would not have spent, but for the listing broker's mistake. Trust me, the listing broker would have been happy to pay $500 to send buyer number 2 away. Now, there's some instructive value of that because there are lots of situations in your career. I shouldn't say there's lots of situations, but we are human beings. We make mistakes. When we make mistakes, we tend to get defensive. We're not at our best. One of the practice pointers from this is just because we make mistakes doesn't mean you've hurt the unhappy person. And don't give away the farm when you know you've made a mistake. Talk to somebody else. Not all the mistakes that you make in your career actually hurt somebody that you have a duty to. When you make a mistake, here's a simple way of putting it. Avoid the urge to apologize immediately, because doing so, no good deed goes unpunished, sort of puts a target on your back and invites people to come after you. Okay, no, the listing broker was not sued. How about the macho buyer suing his own agent? Have I told you anything? The macho buyer has claims against his own agent. Nothing. Own agent is trying to lead macho buyer number 2 into making informed decisions. Would you like me to submit your offer with a backup contingency? Oh, what, pray tell, is a backup contingency? This is what it is. No, I don't want to do it. Counter proposal comes back without a backup contingency. Would you like me to call up the listing broker? Macho buyer makes a decision, no. Macho buyer does not sue his own agent. So who's left to sue? The seller. The seller has announced that the seller is going to breach the contract with buyer number 2. Macho buyer sues the seller. Seller brings who into that lawsuit? His own listing broker. If I've breached this contract, it's through the negligence of my listing broker, and seller brings in listing broker into the case. And then who does listing broker try and bring into the case? buyer's broker for buyer number 2. And this was his argument. And of course, I'm biased. I've revealed this bias. I represent buyer's agent number 2. But the listing broker's argument was, I told you to write the offer as a backup offer, and you disobeyed me. I'm glad to hear some laughter. Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, suppose a seller says, don't you dare submit an offer below $400,000. Are you obligated to submit an offer above $400,000? No, it was a ridiculous argument at that point, but that's how lawsuits unfold often. So listing broker sues our client, buyer's agent. So the transaction progresses. One of the things that's happening in this transaction is, if you were the listing broker, if you were the seller, you would be giving both buyers every chance you could to stub their toes, to screw up, to default out of the contract. And so one of the things that happened is the seller had the title company give title commitments to both buyers. No, everybody's on their guard now. So your instinct, where you go, oh no, is that those have to be tricky title commitments. The title commitment that was given to buyer number 1 had a requirement in it, and their requirement is that buyer number 2 go away. The title commitment that went to buyer number 2 had a requirement in it that buyer number 1 goes away. So the title company was on guard and paying attention. Title commitments given to both buyers. Macho buyer has a lawyer who's helping him with his lawsuit. It's logical for macho buyer to give his title commitment to his lawyer. His lawyer looks at the title commitment, studies the exceptions in B2, finds some things that concern the lawyer, and the lawyer sends a letter to the attorney for the seller, right? The seller has an attorney because the seller is a defendant in this lawsuit, and says, we have a question about this easement, and we have a question about this right-of-way thing. Now, if you're the seller and the listing broker, and you learn from your lawyer that the seller's attorney has received this letter, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Isn't it a fabulous thing? Isn't it are these guys stupid enough to think that we're going to lift even our pinky finger to help address a title issue? We want them to go away. And we can take this letter and at least argue that this is an expression of dissatisfaction of title that now starts a clock. It's like a title objection. And unless they withdraw it by the title resolution deadline, we have an argument that contract number 2 terminates, which frees us up and gets us out of our nightmare. Got it? So, if you're that listing broker, if you're that seller, if you're that seller's lawyer, do you call up the attorney for buyer number 2 and say, if you think we're going to do anything with this letter, you're out of your mind? No. You stay quiet. I guess I was going to go like this. Loose lips, sink ship. You just stay quiet as a mouse. You don't respond at all. And then you just sit on pins and needles. And if you're my age and you grew up east of the Mississippi, people say you sit on tenterhooks. Does anybody know that phrase? Yeah, okay. Are you from east of the Mississippi? No, okay. Anyway, so they count down the days until the title resolution deadline to see whether buyer number 2 withdraws this thing that's arguably a title objection. Title resolution deadline passes. Attorney for seller sends communication email back to attorney for buyer number 2. Oh, we're so sorry that these title issues bothered you, and apparently you've chosen to not withdraw your title objection. So the real estate broker will be preparing, the listing broker will be preparing an earnest money release to send to you, because your contract, buyer number 2's contract, is dead. When buyer number 2, macho buyer, learns of this, he has an oh shucks kind of moment, fires his lawyer, hires a replacement lawyer. You don't have to track that, but it's, attorney number 2 for buyer number 2. Hire number 2. So who gets added into the lawsuit? The first attorney for buyer number 2 gets added into the lawsuit for malpractice. Everybody wants to know how this story ends. And when I tell this story in other classes, I move on to other things and hold the suspense, but that doesn't work in this setting. So here's what happened. Like so many cases, it did not go to trial. But one thing that's pretty clear is if we imagine a triangle, here's the seller, here's buyer number 1, here's buyer number 2. In the lawsuit, the buyer that's going to end up with the property is buyer number 1, because buyer number 1 was under contract before buyer number 2. So buyer number 1 is going to get the property. And so one of the ways it's settled is buyer number 1 gets the property. Buyer number 2 still has a contract with the seller. And even though he doesn't get the property, he gets damages from the seller. And the reason the litigation progressed, because in a lot of the situations you run into, there's one buyer who's more aggressive, more feisty than the other buyer, and the less aggressive buyer ends up going away. But in this situation, there were 2 macho buyers. But another thing that was going on is buyer number 2 was right. It was an appreciating market. And so at the beginning of the story, both buyers had the property under contract at about this price. During the months of the litigation, the value of the property kept going up. And so, you've got 2 dogs pulling on a rope. Neither of one of them wants to let go. It settles with buyer number 2 getting about $80,000 of damages. Plus, what's the plus? Their attorney's fees. Their attorney's fees were about $40,000, so a total of $120,000. And then the question is who paid for that? And one of the lessons of this story is make sure you keep your malpractice insurance paid. We make mistakes. We make mistakes. About 2/3 of that pot, that $120,000, is paid by the malpractice carrier for the listing broker. 1/3, and some rooms of realtors burst out into spontaneous applause when they hear this. 1/3 of the pot was paid for by the malpractice carrier for the first attorney for buyer number 1. That's the my client, the real estate broker, had a lot of sleepless nights, etc., but got out of it unscathed. That, for the listing broker, and for my client, the real estate broker for buyer number 2, is the scary story of 2019. Thank you for indulging me. Oh, yeah. What questions do you have? Yes. Yes, Lynn. Did the seller have to pay anything? The seller. Oh, wait, let me hear your rationale. What's your rationale? What? So the seller did make a mistake, sort of. Yeah. What? So in a way, the seller, who was no dummy, made a mistake in signing an offer, but that doesn't go very far. I mean, when a seller is sophisticated, you can make the argument, well, the seller signed a contract that didn't have a backup contingency in it. But who should have pointed out that it didn't have a backup contingency in it? his agent should have pointed it out. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So the question is, how do you evict a guest if they go against your rules? Well, so one concept is if you're not behaving, for example, in a hotel, they don't have to evict you. They can just lock you out. And the concept is that if it's a occupancy arrangement for less than 30 days, it's not considered an interest in real property. Now, hotels, we have the digital keys and the like, and they can just time out your key, etc. And they're big, and hotels may do that. I don't know. I've never experienced that. It won't shock any of you, but I'm not a big partier. I'm a role player, at least in hotels, etc. We haven't had in an Airbnb situation. I haven't seen a situation where the owner has simply just like changed the locks. I haven't seen that situation. And the safe thing to do would be to start a regular eviction. Yes, Pete. Don't hold it against Pete that I can recognize him easily, and it doesn't mean that he calls me all the time with his problems and stuff like that. Yeah. 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 Right. So yeah, in situations like that, you'd be happy to pay either buyer, whatever money they spent in their due diligence pursuing the property. You'd be happy to pay them some, $10,000, $20,000 to go away. So yes, offers like that were being made. That's what you do in those situations. Pete knows that because he's smart and logical, not because he's had any experience with it, at least that I know of. But yeah, that's what you do in those situations. You try and buy buyer number one or buyer number two out of the property. Yeah. There was a question over here. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I'm from Boulder, so I have to laugh at that. So the question was, are there any other cities other than Denver that have major restrictions on it? Yes. So Boulder is one. Fort Collins is one. That's all I've seen. But I'll tell you, I've got a case. The one Airbnb case I'm working on right now. The buyer was able to get a license from the city of Boulder for an Airbnb license, but the covenants are what arguably prohibit the use. So just because somebody does get a license doesn't mean that they will have a happy ending in their story. Those are the three municipalities that I know about. Yes. No. Right. So right. The restrictions that we're talking about are on the short-term occupancy, short-term leasing kind of arrangements. But no, if you're leasing out your house, you're just subject to normal zoning considerations. So, for example, you might have a concern about having too many occupants. I live in a university town, but no, you can still rent out your house. Right. Right. Yeah. And in general, I mean, the public policy considerations, reasonable people can disagree about this, but the where things seem to be settled in places that do regulate this is we do want to have people be able to rent out a room in their house. We do want them to have the ability to rent out the mother-in-law apartment. We do want them to be able to rent out the little cottage space above the detached garage in the backyard. But um, if investors are buying properties and using this as Airbnb, it decreases. There's Smedras into affordable housing and things like that. It decreases the inventory of homes that tenants can rent and that regular people can buy. But what's really driving it, in my opinion, in municipalities is there's a lot of people who don't like living adjacent to it. And probably a lot of us in this room have experienced the Airbnb thing, and of course, all of us are very pleasant to reside next to. But I have also been to events, weddings of people my kids' age, and I see how not everybody's so responsible in the Airbnb thing. And so, one of the things to be mindful of for your clients is there are neighbors. There are neighbors who are going to tattle on your clients who are buyers. There's a high likelihood they're going to get caught. So if they get caught, they want to make sure they have their sandbags lined up. All right, Steve, I'm going to make you the last one because I'm watching the hook here. Yes, Koneski. I practiced that a lot last night. Yeah. Koneski. Well, it's no, it's not quite that cut and dried. Uh, uh, so, the, what, well before well before the evolution of the Airbnb concept, there are homeowners associations who are trying to tamp down on the density of rentals, and so they when you they are somewhat constrained in what they can do by the covenants. So, for example, we buy property and we buy it. We have certain expectations of what we can do with the property. And if you have a client who has bought property in a subdivision where the covenants do not prohibit renting, for example, let me pick an extreme example. They do not prohibit renting. And then after your client buys the property, the homeowners association purports to pass a rule, not amend the covenants, but purports to pass a rule that prohibits renting for anything less than 6 months. I'm probably going to be able to beat that rule. That rule, if you will, is inconsistent with the Constitution. I'm talking figuratively, not really the Constitution of the United States, but if I'm analogizing the Constitution of the United States to the Homeowners Association covenants, if the association has the shortcut of trying to pass a rule prohibiting short-term rentals, that is not going to stand up. But if they go to the trouble of amending the covenants to prohibit rentals or to prohibit rentals shorter than 6 months, 3 months, etc., then that is likely to stand up. Yes. All right. On that happy note, again, thank you for your attention and engagement.
Thank you so much, John. Okay, we had 2 generous donations to our cell phone going off fund. One of them has been paid in full in the back. She did leave right afterwards, and I told her she didn't have to. That was not part of the rules, but I think she had to go. Perfect. Go ahead. Thank you so much for your donations. Okay, next up, funniest costume. Um, so can we get anybody with costumes to come on up? I'm so glad that you guys dressed up because I would have felt like a real big idiot if I was the only one. Let's get up on the stage. Hey, Heather. Yes. My second half is here. Do you mind? Do you mind so that I'm not a biased? Yeah, can you? Because I would facilitate the judging.
Costume. costume. Just get up there and we'll do categories. They don't know what you are, Ross? Really? Besides a black-eyed pea? Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay, so we're going to do this very democratically. We're going to clap for whoever you think is the best, funniest costume, because that's the category we're on right now. Okay? So we're going to start right here with Ross. Clap if you think he's the funniest. Next one. Oh my gosh, I'm failing. The Incredible. Yeah, Captain Incredible. Okay, clap. Coey. Are you an iBuyer? Is that what you are? No. Very good. Very good. Okay. Coey. How about for Kevin? Very nice. Just festive. I like your tights. Those are cute. New category. Yes. Well, we have several. What? Funniest. Oh, what are the others? Funniest, scariest, best individual, and best group. Is that correct? Okay. You got that? Okay. Andrea, are you with Brian? You're the group category. Okay. The sellers who think they're going to get a better deal by going with an iBuyer. Hello? Clapping. Okay. I think from listening, it was Coey that won this. Congratulations. Okay, for those of you that want to stay in the scariest category, none of you are really scary. Do you think? Ross? Oh. So scary. We don't work with those. Okay, if you all agree that she should be the scariest as an unapproved buyer, give me an applause. Yay. Okay. What's our next one? Individual? Best group. Brian and Andrea. Yeah, I think you won. Okay, and best individual. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Okay, let's start down here. She already won, so we're going to take her out. Kevin, best individual. Coey. Oh, you already won. Sorry. Mr. Incredible. Yay. And the black-eyed pea. Okay. I think Kevin won that one. Thank you all for participating. We don't have a meeting next week, so that's why we're doing Halloween now. Thanks so much.
Okay. Okay, here's the commission statement. We won't read it off to you, so that in the interest of time. Also, our pre-RE Colorado input policy. Okay, do we have any coming soon listings? Any coming soon listings? Steve Carew. Do you have a coming soon listing? Nice.
Good morning, Steve Cadesi, Remax Masters Millennium. I have a pre-listing that's going to be going in this weekend. It's in Deer Trail. So most of you know where Deer Trail is at, right? My listing in Lyman is under contract. It's going to sell. So as you go out I-70, you will find Agate, Colorado. You go to the south and you'll find Deer Trail. This home was built in 2013. It's 1,794 square feet. It has 1,100 square foot upper level, 1,700 square foot unfinished basement, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's on 40 acres, well and septic, and it's going to be listed at $450,000. So all of you people have buyers for that, come see me immediately. 720-936-9975.
Thanks, Steve Kaneski. Okay, presentation of new listings. Anybody with a new listing? Come on down.
Hello, Terry Kowalski with Novella Real Estate. Anyway, have a new listing just listed today, open house tomorrow, and it is a Brookfield Modern T-Light 3 Fresh model up in Midtown. So y'all know where Midtown is? Okay, terrific. So this is a really nice 2016 model with a lot of upgrades and whatnot, and it's about 2,100 square foot total, 1,550 above grade, and 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, vaulted ceilings, Bosch appliances, reverse osmosis, water filtration system, security system. It's got a lot of great upgrades. So again, if you have buyers for this type of property, we'd love to see you up there tomorrow from 11 to 2. Oh, I'm sorry. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? 489. 489. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Next up, we have any commercial needs? Buyer needs too. Going once. Going twice. There must be so much inventory, we don't have any buyer needs anymore. Oh, no. Give me another $10. Another $10. Buyer need? Yes.
Stacy Duffy with Novella. I've got not an immediate buyer need, but probably in the next 60 to 90 days. Nice, small, 322 single family. Really good rental. So some past clients that are looking for their first rental property. So they're open to anything in Cherry Creek School District under 3.25. So I know that's a stretch. But over in the Central Aurora area near the UC Health Complex, anything over there by Stanley Marketplace, it's a nice small rental property. Anything like that, give me a shout, please. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Any other buyer needs? One of the things that we do, for those of you that don't know, there is a Metro Market Pulse Committee that meets regularly and is trying to think of ways to do things a little bit differently. One of the things that we've talked about recently is, in addition to buyer needs, seller needs, we want to also have an opportunity for people to come up and talk about affiliate needs that they might have. So if there's anybody out there that can think of, if you're a realtor and you have an inspection objection and you need a professional in order to do something, I'd encourage you to think about that. And we're going to be sliding this into our presentations from now on. That way, our affiliates and our members that are in the audience can actually, try to think and help those individuals find something out. So I'll start off with the first kind of affiliate contractor need. I've got a client down in the Meadows who had an inspection done on their house. They looked up on the second floor linen closet. How often do people look at the second floor linen closet ceiling? And there was mold up there. Ooh, another scary story. Obviously that needs to be mitigated. Yeah, buyers are fine with us just getting it done professionally. I did reach out to an affiliate of ours, Steve with Cleaner Carpet and Flood Masters. But if you guys have any other contractors that you've worked with before in the past, Steve is just slammed right now, and we've got to get this taken care of really quickly. So, Pete, okay, nice, Dennis, awesome, guys. And the way that I want to work this too is obviously I'll be here until and afterwards. I would love for anybody to come up to me and let me know that this is something you can tackle or you've got something. And hopefully by having this dialogue, we can identify people that we can work with here in the room. I talked about it before, but so anyways, if does anybody have anything like that they want to present today? Otherwise, we're going to start putting it on the agenda so that we can get out there and we can kind of start spreading the word. Yes. Come on. Can you hand that to
I'm looking for somebody who can do outside repair work on a home before painting, where there's wood rot there's wood pieces that need to be replaced around the windows, or any panels, exterior trim work, basically before a painting job can be completed. And then also, if there's just a repair person that can take a look at a window that needs just an adjustment regarding whether it opens and closes well or can be opened. So, Annette Quick with Real Estate of Colorado.
And just one last comment. Where this comes from is, as agents, sometimes we have our heads down and we're just trying to solve problems. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll go, oh my gosh, I need this and I need this now. And we have a tendency to kind of look past our field of vision and we throw it up on Facebook or we throw it out to our office. I want to keep those opportunities and those things here, not only in this room, but in Smedra as a whole. So that's kind of where we're coming from on this. If you guys have any feedback for Metro Market Pulse Committee, please let us know about it. We want to continue to strive to get better for you. Okay, that being said, upcoming Smedra events. We have a power lunch, the Dora update with Marsha Waters. What? Dora update with Marsha Waters. This is November 18th. This is always a sellout crowd here when Marsha Waters comes to Smedra. So make sure that you guys are registering for that early. It will sell out. It's free for Smedra members, but I just want you to know that we will reach capacity. And then also, Heather, next Thursday, we've got Nobu from the National Association of Realtors who's going to do a fantastic class here. We want you guys to come out. He is a great speaker that we just listened to up at the CAR Fall meetings. And definitely worth your time to come out next Thursday. Also, don't forget about Smedra's annual holiday brunch and toy drive. That's December 6th, 2019. Holly Duckworth has been planning how she is going to turn this into a winter wonderland, and you do not want to miss it. So make sure that you're here for the holiday brunch and toy drive. Bring an unwrapped toy on December 6th. Okay, and the winner is...
I'm trying very hard for them not to fall out. See, there's one that still escaped. This little door does not latch. Brian does a very good job. Just so you know, this is kind of stressful. I mean, you would think it's just tearing tickets, but it's kind of hard to make sure they all stay in the little basket here. All right, so there is $109 to the winner. And the winner is 7630. 7630. Oh, wow.
Ryan will not see a dime of it.
Remember who bought those tickets. Just remember, I never see the profits. I never see the profits on those. Thanks so much to our corporate sponsors. Amy, if we can bring this over here, we are live on the internet, and we want everybody to know we give away lots of cool stuff. Perfect. Come on down. Can you help me pull this over? There we go. Just remember, there's a camera back there.
Oh, whew. That was scary. Bless your heart. Okay, Marie with Pro Flooring, where we floor you nicely. I have my pistachios. The number is 7451. 7451. I know. Mr. Unicorn? Okay. Nope. Choose again? Oh, yeah. There you go. All right. I don't know. I'll leave that there.
Maggie Turner with National Home Guarantee Home Warranty, and I have my popcorn and caramel corn drizzled in white chocolate from Beautiful Baskets by Maggie, and
Yummy.
it's very yummy.
It's very yummy.
And the number is 7485.
Typical story of my life. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Frank Brock with Tri-State Mortgage, and I'm giving away my grocery bags. Got a couple nice bags here. Keep these in your car so you don't forget them. And the winning number is 7470. Do we have a winner? Well, let's try another. Yeah, 7470. We got one.
Morning, Chris Kramer with Remark Homes. We build and remodel and renovate houses, and we always bring in Hawaiian chocolate macadamia nuts. So, it's good to see Brian back here. I always heard the board was up on their high horse. He's on kind of a horse, but he's not so high. So, anyway, the chocolate macadamia nuts go to $7,476. All right, Pete.
Gary Morton here. I'm giving away good advice. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Do you know who can get breast cancer? Anybody. Any tissue in your body can get cancer. So men, I'm living proof, men can get breast cancer. 3.5 years ago, I got it. The thing about it is that you guys need to check. The early detection is the key to saving you. And ladies, they're not going to do it. So when you check yourself, check your men too. Okay? It's very important. I mean, I would have died if I hadn't caught it. But if you see anything that's looking a little different, in my case, my nipple actually started inverting a little bit, which I guess is a classic sign of that. So if you see anything different, if she's feeling any lumps or anything like that, just like a woman checks herself, you guys need to check yourself too. And like I said, the guys are going to do it. So ladies, you need to do it for them.
Thanks, Gary. Once again, thanks to our corporate sponsors, and we appreciate all of you being here and all that you do for Smedra. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful weekend.